About Elon Musk and Trump and why I think Social Security is the key to understanding what happened here. All right, so my name is Ed Weir. This is also a live Q&A. Looks like I already got a bunch of questions about all things Social Security. Let's talk about Musk and Trump and Social Security, how that connects it, and then I'll get into answering any and all of your questions for the remainder of the hour. All right, so Elon Musk was sent to Washington, brought to Washington to find fraud, waste, and abuse. And guess what? He came up pretty much empty handed. In terms of Social Security fraud, he came up 100% empty handed. So we'll talk about that. Is there fraud in Social Security? Before you start typing away in the comments, is there fraud in Social Security? Absolutely. Social Security employees find it every day. The Office of the Inspector General finds it every day. The Government Accountability Office finds it every day. But Musk was not able to find it because he, as I mentioned in several videos before, he was looking at all the wrong places. Okay, so and at the end of this, so I'm going to tell you how Social Security is, the key to understanding this kind of divorce. And at the end of it, I'm going to kind of throw Elon Musk into the classic hero journey. So we're talking about Joseph Campbell, a famous mythologist. He says all of these stories going back to Homer, Odysseus, the Odyssey, going all the way, Luke Skywalker, Harry Potter, all of them follow this same hero journey. And we're going to put Elon Musk in this same hero journey and see how that works out. Okay, but let's stick to exactly what happened here. So he was brought in, the big, beautiful bill is going to be cutting over $4 trillion of taxes. And yes, a few crumbs come to those who really, really need it. They always do that. They throw out a little crumbs, but the majority, 80% plus, always goes to the top. And this has been the reality since decades. And I mean, this has been attempted. Was in 2001 they did a $1.3 trillion tax cut. In 2003, $350 billion tax cut. In 2012 they did a $3.6 trillion tax cut. In 2017 a $1.9 trillion tax cut. So over $7 trillion of tax cuts have been attempted over the last 20 years, and everything is perfect now, because we got all these tax cuts. When they pass these tax cuts, once you pass the tax cuts, the economy is going to blow up and all that money is going to go to regular people and they won't have to suffer anymore. Guess what? Never happens. It always goes to the top, and the top are making phenomenal amount of money. And we're going to do it again. What's the definition of stupidity? Is always walking into the same wall. And yeah, anyway, so yeah, just as always, a little bit of the crumbs come to the regular folks, but predominantly the tax cuts go. And so to offset this time, because the way they're trying to pass these is called through reconciliation, so they have to find offsets. So that's where Elon Musk was tagged to come in here and find, fraud, waste, and abuse. Genius Elon Musk. He has done so much, Tesla and SpaceX and the Boring Company and all this kind of great stuff. He can definitely find it. And obviously, politicians have been saying for decades and decades and decades, so, all of government is just rife with fraud, waste, and abuse. So there's trillions of dollars we can find there to offset these taxes. Okay, so we'll bring Elon Musk and Doge in and give them the power to find it. Guess what? They didn't find it. They didn't find the fraud, waste, and abuse. They did find some programs they didn't like, USAID and some other programs they just didn't like, so they decided to cancel, fired a whole bunch of people. The Food and Drug Administration and people that were, checked to make sure hurricane season. I grew up in Florida, and there is a hurricane season for those people out there at FEMA that are in control of FEMA. Yeah, there is such thing as a hurricane season. It starts around December. And Social Security, they fired a lot. Excuse me, they didn't technically fired. They voluntold, as we used to say in the Marine Corps. Either you get out now, or we'll give you some change, or stick around and find out what happens. So I know a lot of people that decided to go ahead and take that, the former option. So, but all of this causes confusion and chaos, and people are having a hard time getting their benefits. And this is one of the reasons we've got so many people on a daily basis coming in here and say, hey, how come my benefits are taking so long? How come I got messed up here? Why am I losing money here? So So he did find things, he did cut, but were those cuts, were they fraud, waste, and abuse? No. Were they programs he didn't like? Yes. Um, so, and in terms of Social Security, that's where the key was. That's where the key was. That's why Doge and Elon Musk spend so much time at Social Security. If you ask me, they should have gone over to the Department of Defense, being an old Marine Corps sergeant. There's a lot of money in the Department of Defense. They didn't want to touch the big one where the money was just laying around. They decided to go after social safety net, Social Security, and they were told for decades that, hey, Social Security has billions of dollars of fraud, waste, and abuse, and yada yada yada. So they first go after these 20 million people over 120 years old that are receiving Social Security benefits, and they say, wow, 20 million people over 120 receiving Social Security benefits. That's trillions of dollars. There, we've got our tax cuts paid for. Everybody's cool. Let's go have champagne and jump on our yachts. Turns out, as I've talked about many, 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 many times, they were looking at an incorrect database. They were looking at the Numident. They should have been looking at the MBR. The Numident does not pay money. There's zero money that comes out of the database they were looking at. And once they realized that, they moved on to something. Oh, it's 40% of people that call in Social Security are fraudulent. And no, the stat they were looking at basically said 0.002%, I think, are when you do the correct math. So that came out be empty. Then they were talking about millions of illegals, always going back. Anytime they run out of ideas, they go back to, okay, let's blame poor people. So let's blame undocumented immigrants for receiving Social Security benefits and Medicare and stuff like that. And that's impossible because I've talked about this several times. It's illegal to get Social Security and Medicare if you are not allowed to get it in terms of legal status, citizenship, or legal permanent resident status. And I know because I've taken hundreds of thousands of applications, and that's part of the applications is for people to prove that. And then it has to be kind of checked with the immigration service. So that's so they came up pretty much empty-handed. So now there's no pocket of magical money to pay for the tax cuts. And Elon Musk, he's been kind of consistent in the sense of, wants to cut, the deficit, which great, we all do. Wants to cut the debt, great, we all do. So the big beautiful bill is continuing, but not with the offsets because he wasn't able to find that magical pocket of fraud money. He found 150 billion, but again, if you look at it, it's mostly programs that they didn't necessarily like. But the 2 trillion that was promised, not even close. So the math just doesn't work anymore. Tax cuts are going to be affected. Fraud savings pretty much non-existent. So what happens is the deficit goes up and the debt explode. So that's when Elon Musk decides, okay, I'm out of here. Bye. His term was already up, but as you can see, he is really, really out here now. So there's 2 options. There's always been 2 options, is to raise taxes, more income coming in to pay for the debt we're in so we don't give it to our children and grandchildren, or slash programs. And programs would be slashing the Department of Defense, which seems to be off the table for politicians, or slashing other programs. Medicaid, they've already decided to slash that by about $800 billion. Food stamps are going to slash that. So the tax cuts are being paid for by the most vulnerable, unfortunately. But that they're not able to get there. So the next programs would be Social Security and Medicare. Social Security is right now kind of off the chopping block. And that's where I need y'all to make sure you contact your politicians and make sure it's always off the chopping block. But Medicare is through kind of a backdoor method. It's called pay-go. So anytime there's a deficit like that, this pay-go act activates from 2010, and it says, hey, if there's a deficit, you have to automatically find tax cuts. And the only place they can is through Medicare. So even though this bill doesn't cut Medicare, it cuts Medicare kind of in the back way. So Elon Musk has never mentioned raising taxes on him or his buddies. It's always, we have to cut. And he's never liked Social Security. I mean, he came in there saying Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. It's the greatest fraud in world history. So he's never liked Social Security. So he's kicking around this idea of a third party, and obviously, third party is not going to raise taxes. It's going to cut, anyway. So we'll see how that works out. But that is where the kind of the issue remains. Social Security was the key to finding all of the offsets for these tax cuts. They weren't able to find them, and now that pretty much ended the marriage between Trump and Musk. And let's shift gears here and throw this into a hero story. Luke Skywalker, Frodo from the Shire, and all the rest of it. Okay, so here's the fun part. So you've got Frodo in the Shire, Luke Skywalker, and there was a Tatooine. Elon Musk is that kind of character. I'm not saying he's good or bad, but let's say he's that type of character. So he's in his comfort zone. He's building rockets. He's selling electric cars, posting memes and stuff like that. He's outside the world of politics. And then part of the hero story, again, for thousands of years, all countries in the world have this same type of hero story. So he's called to an adventure. Frodo is called from the Shire. Luke is, called from his planet there. Donald Trump offers him a mission: lead a new government agency, DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, find the fraud, waste, and abuse, cut out the fat, find the enemy, so they can pay for tax cuts for the rich. But okay. So at first, Musk thinks it's possible, but very quickly, the machinery of the government shows its resistance. Okay, there isn't that much of fraud, waste, and abuse. There is fraud, waste, and abuse there, but not the amount we need for the tax cuts. So he's kind of like Neo in the Matrix. He's hesitating to take the red pill, right? So then he meets the mentor. This is, we've all seen it before. Classic motif. Merlin handing Excalibur to Arthur. Obi-Wan Kenobi handing Luke the lightsaber. So Trump gives Musk the tools and the spotlight, the power, the promise, the danger. So he gives Musk essentially full power. And the Supreme Court just came down today that said Doge can have access to Social Security records. So now that Musk is gone, Doge still continues. But anyway, so he crosses the threshold. He enters the realm of Washington. There's no turning back. The hero story. He leaves behind innovation and enters bureaucracy. He's now in Mordor, not Silicon Valley. And here comes the trials. So anytime you come into this new land, you got the trials, the legal threats, the press, leaks, enemies in and out of the Trump administration. So he's like Odysseus in strange lands. And Musk starts to realize the system doesn't want to be fixed in the way he wants to fix it. He thinks, fraud, waste, and abuse. He was given always said, hey, yes, all these programs have fraud, waste, and abuse. He looks and looks and looks. He hasn't been able to find a whole heck of a lot. And he kind of comes to the realization that, well, okay, in order to really, really do it, you just have to cut these programs. Social Security, Medicare, people need to fend for themselves, like he did, right? So there is no pot of fraud gold there. So he's in the dragon's lair and the gold is already gone, right? So this is where he comes into the abyss, calls the bill the disgusting abomination. So this is very mythological, right? He lashes out. He walks away from all of it. And guess what? Then the empire strikes back, right? President Trump strikes back, and they have a epic sword samurai katana battle through Twitter and Truth Social. Okay, that's not super mythological, but anyway. So Musk realizes everything, the fraud was a myth, and the entire plan was to cut taxes, which he likes, but not find the offsets. So he returns back to the Shire, returns back to this, but he's a different person now, and he becomes resurrected like Gandalf the White or Tony Stark, right, out of the cave. He's not going to reform the system anymore. He's thinking about replacing it. So we've seen the last couple of days, he's saying, hey, we need a completely new political party, not Democrat, not Republican. We need a brand new Republican Party. So he hasn't built it yet, but I think this is going to be chapter 2, episode 2 in the ongoing saga. And he mentioned that Trump is only going to be around for about 3.5 more years. He says, I'm going to be around for about 40 more years. So he's got a interesting story. So definitely to stay tuned for the next installment of Elon Musk's hero journey. It should be interesting, but again, he's not going to solve, he's not going to defeat his enemy, the deficit and the debt by, raising taxes on him and his buddies. It's going to be cutting for the most vulnerable. And every indication that he's talked about up until that, he's never talked about raising taxes on, on those who really can afford it, who pay very minimal amount of taxes, and particularly in terms of Social Security. Social Security, for those new viewers out there, Social Security, you pay FICA tax up to $176,100. After $176,100, you no longer pay Social Security. So if you're making, $100,000 a year, you pay FICA tax on every dollar you make. If you make $1 million, $10 million, you're paying it on a very, very, very small portion. You're not paying out on the extra 9,999,000, whatever. So that is that. Let's get into some actual questions. Let's see here. We've got a bunch of questions. Let's see which one we're going to go for first. Supreme Court just approved Elon Musk to receive and use Social Security personal information to include banking data, address information, medical records. This is pure insanity. This leaves us exposed fraud. Yeah, so it's not Musk anymore, but it's Doge. Doge is still there. I guess Musk, in some sense, was kind of the old the fall guy on that. But yeah, Doge is still there, and directed by the Office of Management and Budget. Russell Vogt, a lead author of Project 2025, and that chapter is not finished. Ed, back from vacation already? Yes. Tweety Bird, yes. 2-day vacation. I kind of like that. I might have to do it again next month. But anyway, is it true that Trump raised the retirement age today? No. That would take a lot more than need a lot more than presidential directive or executive order. That would have to go through Congress. So no. But here's the issue with all of this. Anybody saying, I'm not going to touch Social Security, that's good, but it's also terrible, because Social Security needs to be addressed, because it's good for today. It's got $2.6 trillion in assets, but that money is slowly running out, and it's going to run out in about 9 years. And at that time, everybody's going to get a cut about 20%. And we've known about this for decades. We've been talking about it for decades. I get people on here every now and then says, you've been talking about this for decades. Well, yeah, because we've known about it for decades, and we've had decades to fix it. But we refuse to fix it. We keep kicking the can down the road. So, all right. Let's see here. After 14 months, and I did both CE, I'm now waiting for decision. I had 2 calls CE, a CE is consultative exam. So that's when you file for disability benefits, and you file for disability benefits. And my website, mygovexpert.com there, you can check out, and it has a bunch of details on the consultative exam, what it is. It's basically, for whatever reason, they need a little bit more medical evidence to approve or deny your disability claim, and they have you go see a Social Security contracted doctor to evaluate you. So you've already gone through that process. Hope I get approved. What are my chances? Yeah, nobody can tell. And I'm a doctor, but I'm not that kind of doctor. I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't tell. So, but yeah, if you've already done the consultative exams and stuff, that's that means you've cleared a lot of hurdles. So hopefully everything works out for you. And make sure you check out my if you are approved, I've got an entire section there on disability. Again, the eligibility, how your benefits are calculated, the application process, which you're already done. But if you're denied, make sure you check out the appeals process here. And it goes the entire appeals process. And under more, I've also got a more detailed appeals process for everybody in terms of appeal disability, appeal of a denial of a claim, or whatever the case may be. it goes into the different levels of appeal there. So I would argue that my website is a lot more efficient and easy to understand than SSA.gov itself. But anyway, that's just my personal opinion. FYI, our local Social Security office no longer sees walk-ins. We called to change the withholding tax percentage. She made an appointment for June 9th. We could have mailed the form too. Yes, a W-4V, the voluntary tax withholding, you can just mail it in. Technically, you can. They just changed this about a year ago. You can call the 800 number, and you can do that over the phone now. But walk-ins, if you demand a walk-in and you say it's a dire need, or if you call your congressperson first or something like that, they have to let you in. So if you're saying, hey, I'm having 10% or 20% withheld, and I can't I can't live on that anymore, I have to stop my withholding, so it has to be stopped immediately. And this goes with anything. Then you say, hey, this is a dire need case, and what you do is you go up to the guard who's at the front door there, at all the offices, and you say, hey, this is a dire need case, or you've contacted your congressperson before you've walked in. And the guards are not Social Security employees. They're Federal Protective Services. They are contracted, so they don't know Social Security policy or anything like that. You just tell them, hey, this is a dire need. This is a congressional, and they better let you in. So my guards were always awesome like that. Hey, moi moi. Big giant Samoan, big teddy bear dude, but scary looking. So a LPR already retired and already receiving monthly Social Security benefits decides to stay in his non-restricted country forever. My question is, a lapper you mean? Okay, legal pay. Okay, my question is he going to continue receiving his full monthly Social Security benefit? Okay, lapper, the green card holder, decides to stay in his non-restricted country. Okay, yeah, if it's a non-restricted country, what he's talking about there is if you go onto my website, Living Overseas, and then it tells you all of the details there about, living overseas and collecting Social Security benefits. And then, I forgot to, I think the last time my web guy hasn't put the link on there, and there's a link on there, but I also have in my YouTube description on payment overseas screening tool. So you can go on my YouTube description and click on it there, or you can just Google payments overseas screening tool. And it's a tool that through the Social Security website, you just click on it, you answer 4 or 5 or 6 questions, and it tells you whether he can receive benefits in his particular country. So Susan, hope you enjoyed your day off. I absolutely did. Who do I contact to get information on volunteering for Social Security? I think you gave the website last week, but I didn't write it down. Oh, okay. It's the, oh gosh, I just deleted the little thingy this morning. But it's the senior SCEP. I always knew it is just type in AARP senior volunteer. And it's basically a Department of Labor program that's administered by AARP. They call it senior volunteer. It is a volunteer, but they do give you a kind of a month stipend, some money. So that's always a beautiful thing. So yeah, just type in AARP senior volunteer. I think it's the senior community something. I forget yeah, we always call them just AARP senior volunteer. In my office, we had more of those than all 1,200 offices put together because, I had a kind of a business background. And I'm like, wait, we can get free labor to help with customer service? Yeah, where do I sign? Same thing with veterans. That one's called the NPWE, non-paid work expense. So they don't get paid through the Veterans Administration. It's kind of a work rehabilitation type of program. And you can, if you got any vets out there looking to build up their resume and possibly get out there, check out non-paid work experience. And you check out that through the VA. So, Ed, you're very dedicated, but you should have finished out the week on vacation. You deserve it. Thank you. I appreciate it. I think that they were both bad word, and they deserve each other. Okay. Oh, Charles, I love the Joseph Campbell. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, you caught that. Yeah, was it Mask of a Thousand Faces? And yeah, so Joseph Campbell, awesome. Big program in out of what's University of California, San Bernardino, no, not San Bernardino. Yeah, I forget what the particular school is. I forget. But yeah, University of California system has a big program on Joseph Campbell. Before Elon endorsed Trump to his face, he said, "I don't trust or the government, the taxpayer money." Look it up. Yeah. All right. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like. Yes, please. The Republicans and their Supreme Court are determined to rob us of our retirements in order to give massive cuts to the rich. And yeah, I try not to be too political. I focus on programs and policy. And if a policy is given by the Republicans or Democrats or independents, whoever it is, and I think it's a bad policy for Social Security, then that's who I'm going to talk about. And just so happens that when, people say, well, what about Biden? Yeah, I talk crap about him when he passed the Social Security Fairness Act. It's not fair. It's not, anything he said. I took him to task on the Social Security Fairness Act. So if it's bad for Social Security, then I think it's bad for everybody. So I am 55 and suffer from a host of autoimmune diseases. In my state, we have a higher approval rating. Yeah, it's not necessarily a state. They're supposed to, people think it's a state type thing. When you apply for disability benefits, you apply at your local Social Security office. But when disability was first started and kind of taken over from the states, there was kind of the great compromise, I guess, of okay, Social Security will hand out the money and stuff like that, but each state can have an agency to actually approve or deny the disability claim, and they're called disability determination services, and they have them throughout the country. And sometimes if you apply in one state and your DDS is, backlogged, they'll just transfer it to another state. My office used to do that all the time. Our state was always the DDS was always underwater, so we used to send it out to Texas and different places. So, let's see. Great podcast, Dr. Weir. I've shared your channel with so many of my friends and associates. All right. Who are not far from retiring or collecting Social Security Medicare. They thank me always. I tell them to thanks, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yes. Yeah, if I just sit here and give you all the information and tell you about all the programs people are missing, then it doesn't help at all unless it gets out to your family and friends. So yeah, anything y'all can do like that, so much appreciated. Obviously, he found the agencies that were investigating him. Yeah. What about the illegals who buy in Social security numbers of dead people? They buy Social Security numbers of live dead, doesn't matter. So, but they shouldn't, but it actually benefits. $37 billion a year is donated essentially to the Social Security Trust Fund by people working illegally. A student coming over here studying and then, stays after and supposed to leave after they graduate, but they stay. They still have a Social Security number because they came over here, or someone came over here illegally and stole a Social Security number, whatever the case may be. They continue to work, pay taxes, pay FICA taxes, Medicare, Social Security. And because they don't have legal status in the country, 10, 20, 30, 40 years later, when they go to Social Security and try to get that money, we say, yep, sorry. No, thank you for the donation. Bye. So happens all the time. Okay, let me see here. Let's see. Yep, I just talked about the Supreme Court there. I am seeing that Trump plans to raise the retirement age and cut benefits. Yeah, he's always promised that he's not going to touch Social Security. But he has cut back, or Doge and him have cut back customer service, which is kind of a way to prevent people from getting their benefits. So that's definitely. But in terms of raising the retirement age, I haven't seen anything like that. I know there's a lot of politicians talking about that now. And so we need to reach out to our politicians and say, the old Clint Eastwood line, don't even think about it. I'm disabled and disability, and I turned 65 this year. Is there anything new for me? When you're on disability, There's a few times that you need to do something, and that time is when you're 60 years old. You just need to see if you're eligible for survivor benefits from any of your people you were married to. When you turn 62, see if you're eligible for any spouse benefits, divorce spouse benefits, anything like that, independently entitled divorce spouse benefits, because you can receive disability benefits and other benefits. One offsets the other, but you can get an increase if you're eligible. And then when you're 65, the only thing you need to do at 65 is check out your Medicare plan. Because in most states, when you're on disability, the only thing you can get is a Medicare Advantage plan. But when you're 65, you can get a Medicare supplement plan. And those are the ones I always recommend if they're right for you. So check to see if they're right for you. You can reach out to Chapter and they can help you out free of charge. But they can't deny you pre-existing conditions, extra premiums, all that doesn't apply once you're 65. So it might be your only chance to check out a Medicare supplement and get out of your Medicare Advantage. But if it's not for you, it's not for you, then just stick where you're at. Make sure you check out that plan, make sure it's still the best plan for you every year, obviously. And then the only other time is once you hit your full retirement age. Once you hit your full retirement age, then you're no longer on disability. Everybody's benefits, disability benefits stop once you hit your full retirement age. They're just converted to regular retirement benefits. So they stop taking money out of the Social Security Disability Trust Fund for you, start taking out of the retirement trust fund. Your check stays the same. Most people don't even recognize the switch. So let's see here. I'm on Social Security and I sold my house and I was told my Medicare will go up for my husband and I. Do you know how long we will pay higher premiums? 12 months. So that is called the IRMA. So you go onto my website there. Let me type it into a couple of places here. mygovexpert.com. You go onto myexpert.com, you click on I still have to upload a video there, but anyway, you click on the Medicare tab and you click on IRMA and it'll tell you income. So that's the top one. That's a question I get up. Will selling my home increase my Medicare Part B premium? And then it tells you the exclusion amount and all the rest of it. So, but it will only increase it for 12 months. But they will reevaluate it every year. So next year it stops, but then they reevaluate it. And if you sold another house or have, income, over the threshold, then you'll get charged the IRMA again. So I don't understand how the Supreme Court can release sensitive info to Trump. I thought it was illegal. Well, he has access. Yeah, he has access to everything. So, but to Doge, Social Security has passed all 31 of their last 31 audits. And we used to have people in my office come in, Ernst & Young and different companies used to come in and audit, but we always made sure to kind of delete people's personal information, the names of Social Security. So they used to look at, okay, client A and client B and client C and stuff like that. But yeah, Doge, I guess, now has access to everything. But, if they are actual Social Security employees and they pass the FBI background check and they get the training on how to protect PII, personal identifiable information, then just like any other Social Security, they have access. But Social Security is crazy. I've had to fire a few people because of they're looking at stuff. So if you go into Social Security computer and if you type in Arnold Schwarzenegger, bye, see ya, big chicken dinners, we used to say in the Marine Corps, bad conduct discharge. If you type it in, if you're, missed one number and all of a sudden instead of Joe Smith, the guy you have in front of you, you type in, it pops up Arnold Schwarzenegger because you typed in the wrong Social Security number. Okay, then that's an excuse. But if you just type in your ex-husband or spouse to see what they're receiving or what some famous person is receiving or something like that, it flags in the system. And then I walk over to your desk with the guard, my big Samoan Moimoy friend, and say, well, gather your stuff. You're out of here. So happens all the time. So if they should be under the same thing, if they need to look at a record because they think they see fraud, waste, and abuse there, then go for it. Then if they're got the FBI background check and all that kind of stuff, then if they're allowed, then they're allowed. But if they start typing in stuff, that has no relevance to that, that's when they need to, be vacated from the premises. The fight was very popcorn worthy. Elon Musk has what he needed. He put his Doge web in place, has everyone's information. He doesn't have to be there anymore. Yes, Nelson, that's chapter 2. That part hasn't been written yet, has it? All of those Doge kids that had full access in their laptops and everything. I think hopefully the guardrails were there. But yeah, I'm foreseeing a story within the next 6 months of something like that. And Social Security has never lost massive records like that. You say, no, it's lost all the time. No, it's not by Social Security. It's by some, credit card company or some supermarket chain that takes Social Security numbers, or some company that, does background checks. That was the last big one. 300 billion numbers were reduced or revealed or something. So, but Social Security itself has always been crazy attentive to stuff like that. And just as I mentioned, I fired many people in my office for exactly that. I got very good service from the Boca Raton, Florida. Yes, Boca Raton. Yes. Mrs. Barnett, all right, helped to resolve a problem concerning the retroactive pay under the Social Security Fairness Act. Wonderful customer service. Yay for Boca Raton, Florida. Awesome. We'd like to hear the positive stories out there, those offices out there that are going above and beyond, even after being assaulted. And as the OMB, they want to inflict a sense of terror in federal employees. And that's a good work environment. I made note on my Medicare Part B form to start this June 1st instead of July 1st. If not retro applicable, they will go ahead and start on July 1st. No, if you say June 1st, they'll start June 1st. So that's good that you did that. There is, I always recommend that when you do that, because on the forms, some of those forms, you're talking about the 40B, and the 40B form. I'm trying to find the form here. Medicare benefits. Yeah, so the 40B. Okay, there it is. Not highlighted. So the 40B, that form right there. Some of those ones don't say when you want it to start, but you put down there when you want it to start. So beautiful. Yep. So they will start it. June 1st. Because sometimes people will say, hey, because Social Security, they submit the form. This is a big problem I see nowadays because Social Security has such low staffing. People, lose their job or something, and they need to start their Medicare immediately. They do all their stuff, but Social Security is such a low staffing that they're not able to do stuff. So people are without health insurance for a month or 2 months or 3 months or something. But if you do it right, like you did, so even if you went into the hospital emergency room on June 1st, and then Social Security doesn't process that until like July or something, but they retroactive it till June 1st, then you should be good if everything is processed correctly. So unfortunately, a lot of people are missing that out there. So please like, subscribe, share it, all that kind of stuff. I truly appreciate the heads up, but it's so disheartening. I agree. But this is a time that, this is when our kids and our grandkids are going to say, hey, grandpa, grandma, where were you when they cut our Social Security? What were you doing? Watching Honey Boo Boo? Anyway, so. A disabled Korean veteran, do I have to worry about losing disability? If you are a disabled Korean veteran, you probably already lost your disability because you're probably over 67 years old. You're way over 67 since the Korean War was 1950 to 1953. So you've lost your disability decades ago, but you're on regular retirement benefits. See, you didn't even notice you lost your disability because your disability benefits were just switched over to regular retirement benefits. So you're on regular retirement benefits. You're no longer on disability benefits. So no, you can't lose it. because you get better work or anything like that. You can work, do whatever you want. You no more CDRs. You don't have to worry about those coming. You're good. So just go live your life. But there are going to be cuts here in about 8 years until, politicians fix it. And they've had decades to do it, and they ain't done it. So reach out to your politicians and say, hey, the trust fund is running out. It's not stolen or anything like that. Those online internet myths. It's being used. If you are receiving a Social Security check, your check right now, about 7 or 8% of it comes from the trust fund. So it comes from the savings. So that savings, just like every savings, doesn't last forever. So reach out to your politician and say, hey, fix it. I don't want to have to, get a cut of 20% in a few years. So my best friend was married to a Mexican who drove to Chicago. $500 later, he had a Social Security number. Yeah, anybody can get a Social Security number. Yeah, but can never, and pay FICA taxes. Go for it. But can't get the money. Yeah, they can't get the money unless they become legal. Go after defense bloat. Yeah. I, being an old Marine Corps sergeant, we spend more money on our defense than the other top 10 countries in the world. So if if our money gets, spent well, then we can defend ourselves from the next top 10 largest countries in the world, which most of them are our friends. So yeah, it's, we could cut back the Department of Defense by half and still be good. So just don't touch the Marine Corps. Well, okay, you got to touch the Marine Corps, but the Marine Corps just gets leftovers from the Department of Navy anyway. So yeah. So whatever the Department of Navy gets, once they're finished using it, abuse it, they just give it to the Marine Corps. So anyway, so that's a whole different. Everyone needs to watch the Jimmy Dore show today to learn what's really going on. The Trump-Elon's fake spat is a distraction. Yeah, I've heard that. It would definitely, all of it is a distraction. All of it's flooding the zone with useless information while they pick our pockets and stuff. Yeah, all of it is a distraction. So he's not saying anything new. So. Patriotic millionaires want us to raise taxes on them and the billionaires. It's on their website. Yes. I mean, Warren Buffett and stuff. He's famous for that. Patriotic millionaires. Yes, I've seen some of their videos too. So, what happened to the privacy laws? Yeah, they're supposed to be in effect, but yeah. New Star Wars trilogy. The wars are us. The trilogy is the years we suffer from all of this. Yeah. Let's see. These illegals don't go to Social Security office. They have to file taxes. Some do and others don't because they are scared to be caught. Yeah, that's true. But any estimates you've seen is about $37 billion a year is paid by people that are not supposed to be working. And again, they're never going to get it back because they don't have legal status. So, and that's been a distraction too. That's one of the reasons that we haven't fixed, the future of Social Security is because politicians have distracted us and said, hey, look over there. And while they, so look at the illegals and says, okay, well, we're looking, what are we looking at? Look at all the fraud, waste, and abuse. And so at least I think Musk has done us a favor there. And so now when politicians in the future say, hey, we'll be able to solve this if we, get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of the system, and says, okay, how did that work out again? Y'all did that. How did that work out again? So came up with pretty much nothing. And again, before you start typing those people out there is fraud, waste, and abuse in every program. I mean, credit card, guess what? There's credit card fraud, there's bank fraud, there's home insurance fraud, there's auto insurance fraud, and there's Social Security fraud, and there's Medicare fraud, and there's Medicaid fraud. But you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. You go after the fraud. You just don't say, 20 million zombies are receiving Social Security just to distract us. The Social Security cap needs lifting to include pay in the Congress politicians. They shouldn't be able to reduce anything until they start paying in or invested. Yeah, politicians do pay. Yeah, that you're probably thinking of the before 1980s, before the Greenspan Commission under Ronald Reagan when they raised the retirement age and stuff. they changed it. It used to be the civil service retirement system, and they changed it to a new system, federal employment retirement system. And all FERS employees, which like for Social Security, 99.9999% of Social Security employees pay into Social Security. Politicians pay into Social Security, unless they became a politician before the 1980s. So yeah, politicians do pay into it. But they only pay 176,100. So they don't pay in it like us because they get all that extra money. So they pay into it, but they don't pay it like us. We pay 100%. Them and other people that make over $176,100 stop paying into Social Security FICA tax. There are programs to apply to do crop picking, et cetera. No reason to come here illegally. Yeah, those are very limited. And there's programs to work at Mar-a-Lago. And to work at Tesla. So it's interesting, they are legal pathways to come here. Absolutely. That is true. Can I get help with mobility scooter with Medicare? Yes, if there was speaking of scams, Medicare, there was companies out there, you probably saw, it's been about 10, 15, 20 years now that they were doing that, giving everybody a scooter, even a lot of people didn't really need it. But Medicare came down and clamped down on them and stopped that. So now, unfortunately, it ruins it for everybody else. Now you have to go through a lot more hoops to get it. But yes, if you need a mobility scooter, what you do is you contact, your doctor, that's dealing with your particular issue that prevents you from getting around. And then you have them write a prescription. So if you have, it also depends what you have. If you have original Medicare and a Medicare supplement, then the doctor just submits that to Medicare, and that's it. If you have a Medicare Advantage plan, then your doctor has to send that through a Medicare Advantage plan, and they make that decision. But yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like getting a prescription for a drug, anything like that. If you need, someone to come out your house on a regular basis to do this, that, or the other, you get a prescription from your doctor and submit it to Medicare or your Medicare Advantage plan. You notice I never say submit it to your Medicare supplement plan, because that's why I like Medicare supplement plans, because they don't get involved in any of that crap. If you have a Medicare and a Medicare supplement plan, you submit it to Medicare, or you get approval from Medicare. Not even kind of approval. Anyway, it's not a prior authorization approval. If it's medically necessary, Medicare says, okay, done. And then they pay, let's say, the 80%, and then the Medicare supplement plan just pays the other 20%. They can't say anything. They can't second guess or anything. So if Medicare pays for it, the Medicare supplement plan has to pay for it. They can't say anything. So let's see. I hope Dr. Ed gives you a better answer just because. Oh, okay. Did I miss one? Yeah, I got tons of. Okay, let me see if I can find just. Yeah, the whatever question it was disappeared. I only get sorry. Whitney Webb is correct in that she says about Palantir and the puppet. Yeah. All these companies are. Yeah, all of them are private equity, and they're all, top 10% own 60, 70% of the wealth in this country. Top 1% owns over 30%. And yeah, they all own each other. And sometimes they'll throw us a bone every now and then to shut us up. But in my state, New Jersey, it is ridiculous that when you call Social Security now, there is an automated answering system that requires you to enter a number to get help with your question. It won't allow other options. Yeah, this is the AI that they're instituting, and AI is good, just like anything else, but is also terrible. So they vacated from the premises, moved out a lot of Social Security employees, and then they realized, oh wait, the baby boomers, 11,000 every day are retiring. Oops. And now I think the $150 billion that Doge found, I think after it's all said and done, it's going to cost more, because you got a lot of those people that were fired, were pushed out from places they didn't want to be pushed out to. They were kind of threatened. And they're going to come back, and they're going to sue, and they're going to get tons of money. And because, you can't do some of the stuff, and then it's costing customer service, and because this, and so I think the $150 billion that was saved, it's actually going to cost us, but I may be wrong. I'll revisit that statement in 6 months. Can my adult children claim surviving benefits from their deceased dad's Social Security? Yes. Oh, adult children. Well, if they are, if they became disabled before the age of 22, yes, it's called disabled adult children benefits. I hate this little circle there that follows you around. I'm going to get that out of there. I'm not sure why that popped up. So, okay, it's under the family section here, disabled adult child benefits. So yes, you can get it if if you're 18 or older with a disability that began before the age of 22. Absolutely. Trust this guy, nothing but truth. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I don't know if my opinions always work out to be the truth, but so far I think I've been batting 1,000. So but I love to be proved wrong. That means I've learned something. If someone proves you wrong, that means you learned something new. So that's always a beautiful thing. If he was looking in the wrong places, then gosh, why doesn't someone be a mature adult and help them? I've reached out and told everybody, hey, if you see Elon Musk at the shopping center, tell him I can help him find, but they're not looking for that type of money. Okay, let me finish the question. Be a mature, help them and tell them where to look. Why are these people immature about all of this? People grow up because they don't want to find it. They want as a distraction, the 20 million zombies and the 40% of calls coming are fraud and the millions of illegals received. Yeah, they want that to distract. The other part is not sexy and it's not hundreds of billions of dollars. It's just, oh yeah, there's a guy in Topeka, Kansas that is receiving disability benefits, but he is working. Okay, we need to go check out that person. Yeah, and that'll save the agency $24,000 a year. And yeah, that's what fraud looks like in Social Security. It's not sexy. It's not headlines. It's the day-to-day bureaucratic. Okay, we heard this person is working. Let's send out a work CDR, continued disability review. They'll return it, and they'll have evidence there. And then we'll, go with the other allegations, and we'll send out the OIG to knock on the door to check and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's how it's done. So it's a one-on-one thing. It's not, the trust fund was given to Ukraine or, comes some, that's why they're not being mature. This is why the government pisses me off. No one wants to help this administration, only wants to sue and talk about it. Yeah. I mean, if they do the wrong thing, then yeah. Any administration. RFK Jr. got rid of FDA food inspectors, and now we have a cucumbers cause an outbreak of sickness. Yeah. Well, we've always had, that type of stuff, but yeah, it's definitely increased. It just like with Social Security system, the computer system, it's always, every now and it's gone down for maintenance and stuff like that. But over the last several months, it's gone down more. And yeah. And then there's always been people that have been unalived incorrectly by some, coroner's office or a funeral home inputting the Social Security number incorrect, and someone that actually passed away, they, transposed the number 1-2 instead of 2-1, and then someone from, Homestead, Florida, who is, still out there, gets unalived. That has happened, forever, but it's happened a lot more recently. I think that's one of the reasons is because they're going in there and closing out all of those records. Yeah, they don't know the system. So they arrested 100 illegals working for a construction company last week in my city. Oh, okay. I wonder what they did with the owner. That you want to stop that? It's easy, because whenever I hear someone says, yeah, the illegal stole my job, and it's like, well, you should stop working for an illegal. If the person is here illegally, if the person is not here, is an undocumented immigrant, why are you working for that person? Because your boss is the only person that can take your job from you. So I'm not illegal. So your boss, the owner of that company, took that job from you and decided to give it to someone else that doesn't have legal protection, that they can, pay a lot less to, and all the rest of it. So it's not that person stole your job, because they have, they can't steal it. They were given that job by your boss, and your boss took that job. So those people working for some construction company, what's supposed to happen is that construction company is supposed to verify that person's work permit in the United States, a social security number. Social Security has a system called E-Verify, and Congress doesn't make it mandatory because they know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. They know that there's companies out there that want to hire these people, and so they don't make it mandatory. So, but that company could have very well verified those people and realized, oh, these 100 people, they're not in this country legally. They shouldn't be hired, but they decided not to. But I'm sure let us know what the owner of that company, what happened to the owner of that company. The story stays the same, outlined here. It's a process to eliminate government from handling our benefits and hand it to private companies. Yeah, to make it small enough to drown in the bathtub. Isn't that the famous saying? I'm on disability. I'm 63, and they told me if I got spousal benefits, I would lose my medical. Okay, medical. So you won't lose your Medicare, guaranteed. If you get disability benefits, if you're receiving disability benefits and you're also eligible for spouse or divorced spouse or independently entitled divorced spouse or survivor spouse benefits or anything like that, you will get those above and beyond the disability benefits. And if someone said you will lose your Medicare because of that, no. You just talked to the wrong person. You talked to a claims specialist, a customer service representative, someone at the front window. You need to talk to a Title II CS, a Title II of the Social Security Act claims specialist, which I was before I became a manager. But if you're talking about medical as in sense of Medicaid, possibly, because Medicaid is a needs-based program, and if you get those spouse benefits and that increases your benefit by $1,000 a month, then now you're no longer eligible for a needs-based, welfare-based program, then yes. But in terms of Medicare, no, you just need to go back and say, hey, someone told me that I was going to lose my Medicare, so I did not file. So if somebody told you that 6 months ago, and you wanted your extra money 6 months ago, go back into the office and say, hey, get an appointment with the Title II CS, Title II of the Social Security Act, Title II claims specialist, and get an appointment and say, hey, I want to file for spouse benefits. And then tell them at that time, if you want that back pay, remember, anytime you receive Social Security benefits early, it's reduced every month you take it early. But if you want to get that 6 months retroactivity back to when you were first told that incorrect information, tell the person at that time and say, hey, I was given incorrect information 6 months ago. If I wasn't, I would have filed 6 months ago. So I want that 6 months retroactivity, and they'll be able to do it. No problem. If that's a good Title II claim specialist. So then a lot of the really experts have been moved out of the agency and stuff. So, but yeah, push for it. Let's see. I read prior Doge kids posted our info on the unsecured website that was hacked. Oh, I certainly hope not. Hopefully that is just an internet myth. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm afraid of something like that happening, or them doing it, not consciously, but having their laptop and they downloaded all this information and then they go to, play their video games, and yeah. So I certainly hope that doesn't happen. That's what I was always freaking out when Social Security employees were giving laptops. So it saved the agency a lot of money because we used to have computer systems at their desk, and then they went up to the windows to take claims. There was going to be another computer system up there, so we gave them laptops so they could move around. And then because of Corona, let me turn this off here. Because of Corona or COVID, excuse me, COVID, Corona. Yeah, anyway, they were able to take those laptops home. And I was always worried that, on the way back, someone would stop at the, 7-Eleven and get their car stolen and the laptop would be out there. But there's so many, you need your government ID and a PIN number, and there's all kinds of limitations. So luckily that never happened. So, but they were under close scrutiny, those computer systems, the laptops, the employees and everything. So, and they were trained about that stuff. But these Doge kids, yeah, I don't think they had any of that training. So, in my state, New Jersey, it is ridiculous that when you call Social Security, oh, okay, I already answered. Yeah, yes, I agree. So reach out to your politicians. They're the reasons why all of this is happening. So reach out to your politicians and say, hey, when I retire, I've been waiting, 60 years to start my benefits. And I don't want to talk to an AI when I do that. I want to talk to a human being. I want to talk to a human being. So, all right, losing my voice here. All right, got tons of questions, and I apologize. Oh, got a Lord Bison, $4.99. Thank you, appreciate it. Donation. I am a retired U.S. Navy Chief Warrant Officer who was diagnosed with cancer post-retirement. Oh gosh, I was approved SSDI on the first try. See, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, that's another internet myth that everybody is denied the first time on disability. Please stop doing that, because it really just demotivates people that really need it to go out there, and you're just making it worse for everybody. So, see, Lord Bison, approved the first time. A lot of people are approved the first time. Obviously there's a lot of people that shouldn't be approved the first time. There's a lot of people that should be approved the first time. So it really depends. So, all right, y'all have a great night, and I will be back again tomorrow. And please take care of each other.